Welcome to the SDA Housing Podcast, brought to you by NDIS Property Australia. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hello everybody, my name is Min and I'm here with Debbie from NDIS Property Australia, and you listen to the SDA Housing Podcast. The show explains, highlights, guides and brings awareness about all things SDA in this ever-changing NDIS world. Debbie, hello.
Hello, Min.
Today's topic, what is it?
The latest NDIS Quarterly Report. So quarter 2 of the 2024-25 year.
Ending 31 December 24.
Yeah. Just came out on Friday, the 14th of February.
So we did a podcast about a month ago, Debbie. It was a quarterly update and this quarterly report update from the September period, but we didn't cover much SDA information. This one, today's topic here, is more SDA stuff for us.
A bit of just general updates that are beyond what came out last quarter, some interesting stats, but also I've pulled out of the actual report some of the information that they have touched on that is specific to SDA.
The first line here, 692,823 people. So it's just about touching 700,000 participants in NDIS.
Yeah, that's gone up 1.9% in the past quarter.
12,000.
The increase in participant numbers continues to grow as expected. What I liked about participant outcomes are showing some positivity here. So just a couple of figures that we're pulling off this summary of the report that I wanted to highlight. The community engagement, so obviously this is not SDA, this is overall NDIS. Community engagement, 43% of participants reported increased engagement in community and social activities after 2 years in the NDIS. Employment opportunities. The employment rate for participants aged 15 to 24 has more than doubled, growing from 10% to 23% at reassessment. Family benefits, paid employment among families and carers has increased from 47% to 52% over the 2 years. And greater choice and control, 80% of participants aged 15 plus who have been in the NDIS for over 2 years report having greater choice and control in their lives, up from 67% at entry to the NDIS. So I think that is good stats.
Yeah, it's showing the positive impact of the NDIS on the community and the participants who they're supposed to serve. Exactly right.
Yeah. There are some interesting figures on the financial stability and sustainability, and we know that the NDIS has had a lot of funding changes in the past, especially with the new legislation that came in I think the beginning of October. It actually became law, so cutting out on a lot of the rorting and the misclaims by a lot of providers. But it looks like they have done some good here, exceeded financial goals. The NDIS expenses of $22.9 billion were $390 million below projections. The NDIS growth rate has decreased to 11.9%
year on year,
progressing towards the target of 8% by 26-27. And the cost stabilisation, the scheme expenses are projected to be $600 million less than budgeted for this financial year. So, I mean, obviously that is a good thing. How it's come about, I'm not sure. If all of it has been really positive in terms of some of the stories we've been hearing, people losing funding, having all sorts of issues, but overall, that's got to be good for the NDIS that they're spending more money, a lot less money than they were expecting. Improved NDIA performance, I think that's also worth noting. Timeframes for complaints, reviews and first plan approvals have significantly improved, with 74% of complaints resolved within 21 days, and that's up from 54%. So that's quite a very effective increase
Then there was
support.
better support. So 800 new staff added to the frontline service delivered in the last 2 quarters.
Yep.
So which reduces waiting times and improving service access. Yes, that's good to see. I mean, they should be investing in themselves as an organisation to help the community and deliver better services to people out there.
Absolutely. I also know here it says that participant plans are now extended automatically, avoiding participants experiencing gaps in support. And that's obviously really
What
important.
does that mean, extended automatically?
I guess that if a plan was expiring in the past, and this is something that a support coordinator would probably be able to answer better, they weren't necessarily automatically having that extension if they weren't already dealing with their support coordinator to get that plan upgraded and rolled over to the new time period, but they are now automatically extending, so there is no gap.
Gotcha.
Crackdown on fraud and integrity improvements. So we've got the Crackdown on Fraud program received an additional $110.4 million in November to enhance systems to prevent the misuse of funds. And the NDIA identified more than 15,000 participants who may have been impacted by fraudulent providers and supported thousands to transition to safer arrangements.
So that will probably be a scenario where unregistered providers are actually overclaiming and not delivering services, and the NDIA would have removed them from that care and taken to another safer environment in which they're being given the right care for the funds, which are being paid.
Yeah. So at the end of the summary of these updates, one of the lines here talks about in the December quarter, 7,310 home and living applications were finalised. So this is where it now starts to refer to, home and living, which includes SDA, with 95% of those applications, 5,414, completed within 90 days. Now, I don't know how many of those home and living applications were SDA, but that is a good sign that nearly all applications were being reviewed and the outcome stated within 3 months. So that's a good sign. Although how many of those SDA applications are having to go back for review, we know that there's still a lot of SDA applications not getting the correct funding that has been requested. But that then brings us on to the information on the actual SDA numbers. And this is actually out of the report itself. There was like a 140-page report that I scanned through. And this is talking about the number of SDA dwellings increasing. We've had a 4% per annum increase over the last 2 years. And the number of SDA eligible participants has increased by 3% per annum over the same period. So we've seen that in all our data review. Now, this is interesting. They've specifically noted here in the data that we get, the quarterly SDA data, they have the demand projection, or not the demand projections, the actual demand from participants is listed as being participants with SDA funding in use and participants with SDA funding not in use. And they've specified here the reasons why a participant may not have SDA funding in use include SDA is newly included in their plan, they are not yet ready to move from their current accommodation, they are still exploring options or waiting to move when a vacancy becomes available. They may be awaiting the completion of an identified new build SDA dwelling, or they are yet to locate a suitable SDA dwelling by location or SDA type and category. So, I mean, we kind of knew that, but it's nice for the NDIS to actually spell out why those participants have the funding but are not yet claiming it. We also have the total number of SDA dwellings. So I was actually going to pull out the data, but they've summarised this here for us nicely. We've now got 10,749 enrolled dwellings, up by 2,159 at the same time last year. The largest increases were for robust category 60% and high physical support category 45%. So interesting that the robust numbers are growing so much. Why would you see as the reason for that, Min?
I think for the last 5 years, everyone's been pushing the whole HBS houses, 4-bedroom, 3 bedrooms, and enough feedback from providers around Australia saying, where are the robust houses? We need more of them. We need more of them. So it's for those investors who are more conscious about risk management and not building a HPS dwelling in an oversupplied or potentially oversupplied area, the safest bet is often to build the robust product to ensure, not guarantee, but ensure immediate filling up of a robust dwelling because it's when high demand, because everyone's building less. Everyone's building too many HBSs, so we need more robust, and therefore demand and supply is out of balance.
Yeah. And also, when we think about the fact that most robust participants can't share, they need their own dwelling. In the past, where we might have had dwellings for robust built for 2 or 3 tenants because no one knew any better at that stage, rather than the average of 1.8 tenants per dwelling, with robust, it's going to get closer to 1 tenant per dwelling required. So in that way, if you look at it that way, we're going to need more robust dwellings. Obviously, robust 1 participant houses is not a category that exists, but certainly in villas, 1 tenant villas are, I would imagine, going to be continuing to be in high demand. The next thing that stood out for me was the funding, the number of active participants and the SDA support budgets and payments. Now, this is quite eye-opening, isn't it, Min?
It is. Let's go through it all, but I'm confused about the SDA supports and the SDA payments numbers there.
Yeah, I think the average, so the total SDA supports, that's the amount of SDA funds in plans, I believe. In 2022, there was 334 million. In 2023, there was 440 million. Now in end of 2024, there's 517 million SDA supports sitting in participants' plans.
But the payments shows you what's being drawn down.
Yeah, that's right. So the actual payments, 2024, so the funding was 517 million, but the actual payments were 382 million.
So everyone who's listening will remember the words, this is from 4 years ago, of the 20 billion plan per year, 750 million will be allocated towards SDA payments for rental for the investment.
Still only halfway there.
We're at 382 of the 750 million.
Yeah.
But remember, Debbie, we're not at 20 billion anymore. We're at 42 billion. So in theory, I don't know, can someone confirm this answer for me? And that is, surely if the NDIS budget of 20 billion a long time ago is now doubled to 40 billion, surely the 750 should be doubling as well, Debbie.
You would like to think so. Yeah. And just the fact that they are only paying half of that 750, which if it was doubled is a quarter of the 1.5 billion. The reason why is because the average SDA payment is $26,500 per participant.
That's pretty much a group.
That's a group home funding or a basic home SDA home funding amount. Now,
so let's just pull that back a little bit, Debbie.
Yeah.
And if you have an SDA calculator downloaded from the NDIS website, you have a drop-down menu where you choose your IL, FA, robust HBS, 3-tenant home, 4-tenant home, 2-tenant home, 1-tenant home, whatever it is. So, and we all know the numbers. The numbers are 50 to 70, 70 to 90, high numbers. Yeah, this average here being drawn down is $26,500.
There's another reason for that, Min. That calculator we're talking about is for
new build
funding as of June or July 2023.
Yes.
Now, the funding before that was, we know, a lot lower. And also, a lot of participants still have the existing or basic funding in their plan.
Because right now, from my recollection, our last discussions, of the 24,000 in SDA funding, only 8,000-ish are in the new builds. All the rest are in the group funding.
So that's about 16,000 participants who are in older existing properties with the old funding. And so if you look at, if you do happen to be familiar with the SDA calculator, or if you're not, download it from the NDIS and have a play around. You can get it straight off their website. The very first drop-down box that you can change around with is whether it's new build post-2023 or an existing or a legacy property. If you click on the existing, if you make that the drop-down default, that changes everything. And if you start looking through the different, even if you're looking at high physical support or FA funding, if it's an existing property, It is much lower. And I think that's the main reason why those payments are averaging out at that really low level, because the majority, 2/3 of participants, don't have the new funding in their plans as yet. So, Min, that is the income that's currently being paid out.
So, and by the way, just continuing on from this topic here, if you have built a brand new SDA house, HPS for example, and someone comes along at $26,500, it's because they've been in a group home, legacy group home, for the last 6, 7, 8 years, and they've just come out of it. They may apply for your brand new house, and you may be expecting 50, 60 grand per person. You are. We all do. But please be patient that they must go through a change of circumstances from a group home of 5 participants to a 3-tenant HPS SDA home, which is 50 to 60 grand per person. So that process takes 6 to 9 months-ish.
Can do.
To go from 20-ish to 60K or so.
Yeah, and this is what was discussed in a recent episode that Min recorded with Kevin from Paramount Homes, all over the change of circumstances, S48 and S100.
So if you get an applicant, don't knock them back.
Yeah, because the chances are that they just have an old amount of funding in their plan, and it will be reviewed and it will be increased.
You need to be patient to let them go through the process of applying to NDIS for those changes. And that may mean 6 to 9 months, but, knock them back at your own peril. If you do knock them back, you might not get someone else again.
Exactly.
Because 2 reasons. Facts are they may not come along every day. Like you got lucky with a applicant, number 1. But number 2, this is a fact. If you knock your applicant back, the estate provider may in their own mind blacklist you from getting another applicant ever again.
Or less likely to
put forward
your property before another property where the owner may be more likely to accept a tenant.
So do that at your peril, please.
Yeah, for sure. 2 more things that are a little bit less sort of data, but one of them is very much data, and that is something called the YPIRAC, or I think that's how it was said, YPIRAC, yeah. Which, if you remember, we have discussed this in the past, was young people in residential aged care. This has been something going on for quite a few years now, that the NDIS is focused on getting younger people under the age of 65 who are currently in a residential aged care and moving them out into more appropriate housing, i.e. SDA. It says here that as of the 31st of December 2024, there were 811 participants under 65 in residential aged care with an NDIS approved plan. 21 of those younger than 45. There are also 203 people in residential aged care who have a goal to leave residential aged care. So I remember when this started, I think there was like a couple of thousand people in residential aged care. So whilst there's still too many people living in aged care that should be in their own SDA homes or still homes, I guess, that's a good movement there to see those numbers come down quite significantly. Okay, there was one more thing that was in the report that jumped out at me, and I thought, yay, nice to see acknowledgement here. It is the Specialist Disability Accommodation Data Project. Now, you guys all know how much we love our data here at NDIS Property Australia, and we do occasionally comment on the inadequacy, the failings of the data that we can get our hands on. This little paragraph says, the NDIA is working to improve the public data shared for SDA through the SDA Data Project. The project aims to improve accessibility and reliability of SDA data to support informed decision-making and guide providers and investors to address future SDA need. Consultation with stakeholders such as SDA providers, investors, participants and their families and carers is underway to ensure improvements to SDA data, tools and systems to reflect the needs of the sector. The project commenced in September 2024 and is due to conclude in mid-2025. The NDIA will work to implement key recommendations from the project as soon as possible. Wow, I'm really happy to read that, but let's see what actually comes out of it.
Okay.
So that's basically our quick little overview of the latest NDIS Quarterly Report. Yeah, always interesting reading.
When's the next one coming out, Debbie?
It will be 3 months. So it comes out basically 6 weeks after the end of the quarter. So December 24, 31st of December 24 was released on the 14th of February. So the next one will be released mid-May.
Okay, gotcha. No worries, Debbie. Thank you for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.
And if anyone,
it's a pleasure.
If anyone has any questions, please shoot it through to info@NDIS.property and Debbie will respond to inquiries.
Be very happy to talk to you more about any of
if anyone wants to get a SDA data report or due diligence report, please shoot it through to our team here and we'll be able to do that for you as well before you embark on a purchase of SDA housing.
Highly recommended.
Because Debbie, quick question. I'm seeing out there from mortgage brokers involved in the SDA mortgage world, they're getting feedback from the major lender, Columbus Capital or Origin. They want a DD report before they lend out money to investors. And I'm seeing that the going rate out there is about $1,000 for a report. I mean, we read the report today. It was very generic. It had hardly anything about SDA in there. Yeah, they were being billed, investors are being billed $1,000 by mortgage brokers, right? We do our reports for about $440, which is all SDA information.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the suburb profile at all. So if you're getting a mortgage out there, you need a report, happy to contact us. Happy for us to do it for you. Let us know. We'll get it done for you within 2 days. Okay?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Then, bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure you are subscribed and following us so you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this podcast with those that could benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.